Aloha and welcome to this video. My name is Taylor Norris and I'm an astrologer and Reiki master teacher. And in today's video, we are going to be exploring the Gemini new moon on May 26th. So let's dive right in. We're going to look at some of the medical astrology, the galactic astrology, the star alignments, and really invite in the stellar and celestial frequencies, the green and emerald ray of Mercury. Gemini is a Mercury ruled and Mercury guided zodiac sign. And this is really looking like a very beautiful new moon, very galactic, very magical, very creative new moon. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at a couple charts and present some of this information to you visually so you can have something to look at as we go through some of the highlights of this. This new moon is occurring on May 26th at 5:02 p.m. Hawaii time. And before I even share what it's all about, I would like to invite you to my Gemini New Moon Distant Reiki Share. I host one of these every single new moon. And so you're very welcome to attend. We do a Reiki journey specific to the energies of the new moon. And the new moon is a time of new beginnings, planting a seed of your intentions. And in Gemini and conjunct Mercury, it's a great time to actually write down your intentions, write down some affirmations from some aspirations. And at the Reiki Share, there is space in the Reiki journey for you to consider what some of those intentions are and charge them up with Reiki energy while also connecting with the specific astrological and galactic energies. And at that share, I also share about the astrology of the next couple weeks, which will be the waxing moon cycle. So, this new moon, May 26th, 5:02 p.m. Hawaii time, it is occurring at 6 degrees Gemini and 5 minutes. So you'll want to look in your natal chart. Where's Gemini zodiac sign? Do you have any planets or points around 6 degrees? And if so, this will be a particularly important new beginning for you and for all of us. This is kicking off the Gemini lunar cycle. So it's a time for all of us to consider and make space for new insights, awarenesses, communications. Gemini is a mental sign. It's a mutable air sign. So social connections, community, talking things out, having important conversations, connecting to our imagination, mystical realms, our non-physical guides, the animals, the plants, all of nature, the elements. There is this amplification of the communication frequency that is very much facilitated by this new moon in Gemini and the sun's transit through Gemini as well. Jupiter also co-present in Gemini, now at 26 degrees 54 minutes. So as I said, Mercury is the planetary guide of Gemini zodiac sign, and Mercury is conjunct this new moon at 2 degrees and 20 minutes. So that is amplifying and highlighting and underscoring further this openness to communication, new ideas, innovation, solutions, insights, awarenesses. And this Mercury is coming off of its conjunction to Uranus. So no doubt space has been made for new ideas, innovation, solutions, communications, and awarenesses to come through and be made more consciously aware of as this new moon perfects and as our waxing moon cycle kicks off and as the sun continues its transit through Gemini zodiac sign. The new moon is making a harmonious trine with Pluto. So this is really putting us into greater contact with our soul consciousness, our unconscious, different things that were maybe buried deep down that we need to be aware of and create new patterns and new neural pathways and new habits. This is very, very supportive of doing that and kind of having a check in with our soul for the most up to date guidance and direction and even motivation as well. And the new moon is making a sextile with the Saturn and Neptune. Saturn just recently moved into Aries at the time of this new moon. Saturn moves into Aries on May 24th. So Saturn and Neptune together really giving us a first potent dose of the Saturn and Aries medicine. So this configuration is making a mini grand trine or a grand sextile here. So this is like really our outer planets talking to us in very personal ways, and we can become more aware of the knowledge, the wisdom, the guidance of our soul, our spirit, our inner authority, especially as pertains to our soul growth and new directions and new ways of thinking and being that are being implanted at this time and waking up and activating at this time. Possibly even more magical and supportive than this is what I'm noticing in this chart is a lot of these kind of teal blue lines, and these are quintiles. So there's another triangle you can see from the new moon to Mars at 18 degrees of Leo, and another one of these teal blue lines from Mars in Leo to the North Node in Pisces, and coming back in with another teal blue line to the new moon. And these are quintiles. There's another quintile between Jupiter and Pluto. Quintiles and biquintiles are 72 degrees and 144 degree aspects in astrology. They are fifth harmonic aspects, and they are indicative of metaphysical energies, metaphysical flows of energies that are conducive to magic, that indicate creative opportunities, gifts, talents, blessings when we consciously engage them. And these fifth harmonic aspects very much resonate with the manifestation and attraction quality of Venus. So there is this opportunity for magical creativity, new directions, taking action in new directions that are aligned with our highest timeline, that are aligned with the wisdom of our soul and spirit, and why we are here, and having like a reorientation to our motivation system is very, very supported at this time with Mars in this alignment. So it's almost like a reorientation of our motivational system in greater alignment with the new beginnings that are possible for us as we expand our consciousness, Jupiter, and open into more of the limitless possibilities that characterize the current quality of time in this year 2025 into 2026, how there's so much uncertainty, so much mutability, so many unknowns, really, and we can orientate positively in the direction of creating more harmony, more beauty, more of what we want to experience, and just hanging on for dear life, really, to our these frequencies of bliss and grace and ease and smoothness. And when I was tuning into this new moon, and at the time of recording this, also the sun is conjuncting Uranus, I was feeling this frequency of awakening grace, the light of awakening grace. And as things get more and more chaotic in the outside world and maybe look destructive and bleak, and maybe there's a lot of emotional heaviness at times, and different disruptions and big changes and all of the uncertainty I was mentioning before, that equally there are these very strong frequencies of grace that are available and that can be awakened within us. And I think this is a lot of what Uranus is bringing through and trying to gift us. And it's also a lot of what these stellar energies are also communicating to us. And I also recently had the realization in noticing the extreme degrees of polarity and duality and even like mental health kinds of crisis, the arising of inner demons and mental demons and emotional demons. And I say that word demons, just negativity, shadow, heaviness, density, really being amped up. I'm attributing that to this Jupiter 26 degrees 54 minutes of Gemini. Jupiter has been making alignments with the stars of Orion, which on the one hand has been bringing through all of this awakening knowledge and information about ancient Egypt and Atlantis and Lemuria and ancient civilizations and more of the truth of humanity and our connection to the earth and our connection to the sacred sites and the shamanic and indigenous wisdom and all of this that's very much encoded in Orion, but also on the galactic dimension shadow side of Orion, remembering and recalling that Orion is one of the star systems where the polarity was so pronounced and so excessive, and so many of us present on Earth, particularly those with placements in your natal chart in the last decan of Orion. I have some of these personally. We carry some of these inner codes of that duality and that polarity, the memory of the wars, the memories of the divisions, like some of the traumas, and a lot of that is clearing. And it can be clearing in more outwardly expressed ways, and I think it is, but it also can be a very internal and subtle process. So a lot of this is being, it seems to be being like squeezed out of us and purged out as we are receiving higher and higher degrees of light and healing and support and raising and heightening frequencies on the earth and collective intentions of light workers globally wanting peace, empowering awakening, empowering remembrance, wanting to support each other and come into greater harmony and love and actively co-create a shared experience of love and harmony and abundance and bliss and beauty and all of these wonderful things. So I think if some of you, drop it down in the comments if this is you, have been experiencing greater sense of polarity, whether that's being outwardly expressed in your life or if it's been an inner experience, maybe your external reality is pretty stable, but the internal experience of your inner self has felt a bit more polarized at this time, to note that that can be and may be part of the reason why it's coming up at this time. Jupiter's bringing it up so that it's exaggerating it. Jupiter is a planet of just more. It can bring more and it can take things out. It can bring more so that it can be done and it can clear out completely. So the excess and then the purge ends up being a gift, a blessing. Jupiter, a more benefic planet, considered to be a benefic planet, it is increasing so that it can be cleared and fully released. Likewise, Saturn, Neptune, hanging out here now. If I were to show a chart of this moment now, this is May 17th when I'm recording this, they are operationally conjunct. They're only 1 or 2 degrees apart. These two are together and they will be together for the rest of this year. Saturn, Neptune together can feel heavy, can feel depressed, can feel like this chronic sense of heaviness, density, hopelessness, despair, and really hard to work with. Okay, this is not an easy combo. It has higher frequency manifestation, shape shifting, and time travel, and quantum navigation, and making real the dream, and really physicalizing the world of spirit and understanding that we are spirit in matter, that we are divine beings, that we are gods and goddesses and creator beings of love and angelic connection and galactic connection and all these beautiful connections that we have, that we are a richness and abundance of spiritual resource. We are unlimited and infinite beings, and bringing this awareness into matter, into our bodies, into our physical realities. However, it does have that denser side to it. So again, if you've been feeling that kind of emotional heaviness, despair kind of feeling, that can be Saturn, Neptune, and to allow that. I've really been practicing a lot in my own life now is just not attaching to a story with any of these feelings as they come up, any of these kind of like watching the clouds pass of different emotions, and to not attach to any of the stories, that what is coming up, like take it as a good sign. If you're having a hard time, take it as a good sign, as these really, really deep seated cycles and memories are being purged. And, if you need to have a good cry, or take some time out for self-care, whatever you need to know that this is a time to do that, and that's not a waste of time. Sun and moon conjunct Hyades stars. These stars are connected to grief and the grieving sisters who lost their little brother. And so if there is some grief, if there is some purge that happens, in this time leading up to the new moon, around the new moon, again, just like let it go. Like it's a celebration. Let that out so that there's space for more of those higher frequency emotions that all of us love experiencing so much. Hyades is also connected to the Pleiades. So those two star systems are very, very close. So this is very supportive of galactic contact, connecting to the Pleiadians, the Hyadians. Mercury is with Pleiades at this time too. So very, very supportive of insights, downloads, contact with future selves, parallel realities. And I think in part, this is where that frequency of awakening grace is coming through the Pleiades and the Hyades alignments. And as I said, through Uranus in alignment with Algol, that this awakening grace is coming from the galactic, it's coming from the stars, it's coming from the planets of our solar system, and it's also coming from the heart of Mother Earth and the spirit of nature herself as well. Hyades stars, I see very aligned also to incredible levels of intuition with people who have alignments to these stars, incredible levels of psychic abilities and sensitivities and x-ray vision into the body, like medical intuition, and very, very high level intuitive capacities. So for all of us, this could be even greater awakening of some of those abilities if we want to tap into them. Gemini zodiac sign in medical astrology, the parts of our body that are linked to Gemini include the shoulders, arms, hands, bronchial tubes, upper lungs, the speed of neural connections or synapses, the peripheral nerves, capillaries, connecting tubes, and speech. And with this new moon in Gemini, this is a great opportunity to nourish and support any and all of those parts of the body. So the Gemini moon action, Gemini is like the fast changing breezes. It's a mutable air sign. So this is air that's in motion. It quickens alertness, curiosity. This is a great time to study, start a new course of study, get really curious about a subject that interests you, find some fun rabbit holes to go down. Mental alacrity, language skills, playfulness. It's very lighthearted energy, very youthful energy. Improvisation, dexterity, changeable temperature. Gemini moon can be warm or cool. It's inconsistent. It brings in flexibility and speed, and it awakens. It's very alert and awakening kind of a moon. Transit Gemini moon health influences. So, this Gemini new moon stimulates the mind, hand, and verbal centers. It can be insomniac. And again, we've had the Sun conjunct Uranus, Mercury conjunct Uranus. Interestingly, I've been sleeping better than ever. But if you've been struggling with insomnia, I have Gemini moon too. So sleep has always been kind of an ongoing, sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not so good. So just to be aware that this can be less conducive to really good sleep. So supporting yourself with excellent sleep hygiene, however that looks, can be really, really helpful with Gemini moon. Gemini moon can also be erratic. Time to avoid chemical drugs. This is something I've learned about recently in medical astrology. People with Gemini moons natally don't tend to respond well to your like mainstream conventional chemical pharmaceuticals and such. And as a Gemini moon, I can look back and say very wholeheartedly that this has been the case for me. And not knowing that and taking them for a long time. And then in at least the last decade, not taking any pharmaceutical medicine. I think I might have taken something, conventionally prescribed pharmaceutical. Like one time I had a staph infection in Thailand about 7 years ago, and I took some very strong antibiotics, and I don't think I've had anything like that since. So this is not the time to start new pharmaceuticals. And Gemini moon can be very sensitive to EMF fields. Interestingly, I have found this again as natal Gemini moon, really, really sensitive to EMF. And since really my Reiki master training, I've had so much easier time with EMFs as my frequency has raised. I've been so much less affected by all of the different kinds of EMFs and radiation. However, that said, I have changed my lifestyle. I have changed where I live, knowing that I have this EMF sensitivity to help support myself on a more ongoing basis to be away from EMFs. But just to know, Reiki can be something that really, really helps because you raise your frequency so much and you're constantly in training to higher frequencies that the EMF and the other kinds of radiation are not as negatively harmful. This has been a huge help for me because I can think back to 2020 before my Reiki master training. I was really, really struggling. I was living somewhere in the desert, very, very dry air, and the EMF in very, very dry air can be very, very intense, especially when there aren't a lot of trees around. In the middle of the desert, there's not a lot of trees around. Very, very dry air. I feel a real difference with the water in the air and the trees, humidity in the air, as well as the presence of nature and trees are so mitigating of the EMF, as well as Reiki and other energy practices, I'm sure, are also helpful with the EMFs. Gemini moon transit pulls fluid and energy to the lungs, the bronchial tubes, peripheral nerves, capillaries, arms, and fingers. It's a jumpy energy moon. Absolutely. Yes, jumpy nerves, nervous activity. Yes, it's good to avoid surgery to Gemini body zone areas if you can, if you're unable to avoid then certainly, do what you have to do. And again, this isn't medical advice. I'm not a medical doctor. This is just what the tradition of medical astrology has to say when looking at a moon in Gemini. And I'm really, really interested increasingly about how we embody this astrology, come into harmony. And I think it's so, so important too for star seeds and for individuals who are very, very connected to the galactic, to the celestial, to other planets, other star systems, to learn how to look after their human health, how to come into greater harmony with their physical human bodies, and to understand that these human bodies that we're in are some of the most advanced technology available, organic, biological technology that we get to inhabit. And really, the possibilities are endless, and coming into greater mastery and harmony with our bodies, working together with our bodies to safely anchor all of these beautiful celestial and star system frequencies and really express them, anchor them on the earth, allow them to inform and inspire our daily lives, that our bodies are the receivers for all of this. And our consciousness is a receiver, but it's like interfacing with the physicality, that integration is very much seamless. And this is so much too what I feel Gemini is all about, and even what this Saturn Neptune is all about. One other thing I want to mention here too that I thought was really, really interesting. I pulled an Atlantis card this morning, and so I said, okay, let's look at where is Atlantis asteroid at the time of this Gemini new moon. Venus and Chiron are together 20 degrees, 20 minutes of Aries. This is where Venus is. Chiron's at 25 degrees and 28 minutes of Aries. And they are opposing Atlantis asteroid at 23 degrees Libra and 57 minutes. And this asteroid is retrograde at the time of this new moon. And that is also lining up with Spica and Arcturus. So really interesting influx of this Arcturian energy, Spica energy, divine feminine lineage energy, the memories and awakening of Atlantis. We can be receivers. Venus as a planet. I've been connecting to more and more. Venus connected with the diamond light frequency, and harmonizing frequency. Venus is our listening. Venus is our receiving. So we can be listening, receiving, healing our divine feminine with Venus and Chiron together, receiving the healing, profound, deep healing and awakening of this ancient Atlantean memory that knows the inner technology of our human bodies, that knows that the technology of the crystals and the earth and the sun and the stars. And we can even be drawing in Venus, attracting Venus, this light of the Spica star and Arcturus star, our way shower, more of that group consciousness, more of that advanced higher consciousness ability, that our authentic leadership, and even like remembering who we are in our full power, gifts and talents coming from Atlantean times, and the way shower quality that are available, and maybe even like our relationship to the Arcturians during Atlantean periods, our relationship to the beings and the enlightened lineages of the divine feminine during Atlantean incarnations, and having more of that awareness link up, sink in, be received, insights, becoming conscious, and any of the deeper healing also being performed and perfected and cleansing out at this time. Mercury's planetary ray, as I mentioned, the crystal and the gemstone is emerald. So if you are lucky enough to have any emeralds, get them out. Gemini season, celebrate Mercury's beautiful gemstone. And Mercury is linked to the crown chakra in Jyotish, the science of light. And it's connected to the planetary ray color for Mercury is the green ray. And this is a very balancing, beautiful, healing color. So something else about colors too was coming through this morning with Saturn, Neptune, and Saturn as a planetary influence. Something I've been observing is Saturn can kind of drain colors and drain that experience of like the beauty and the color, and kind of like turn everything gray or one color. And so to really work with the colors and be supported by the colors, I was just drawing with some oil pastels and, really like doing some very basic, just for me, for fun art. And to bring in more color at this time, that this can be very soothing and supporting and mitigating of any kind of heaviness that might be coming from Saturn-Neptune conjunction. As I said, I will be hosting a free Gemini new moon distant Reiki share. You are welcome to sign up for that on my website. The link will be below this video. And I'm also teaching a class on Saturn, Ingress, Aries. This transit kicks off on May 24th. The class is called Courageous Spirit Embodied. It is a combination of intuitive galactic astrology and a Reiki journey class, a Reiki held container, where we are going to bring in the higher frequencies of Saturn. We're going to look at Saturn, natal Saturn, and each of the signs, Saturn and Aries specifically, the galactic astrology, the medical astrology, as well as some esoteric astrology. So if that sounds interesting to you, the link to learn more about that class and a video I recorded about that class, those will be linked below this video as well. TaylorNorrisReiki.com is where you can find me, sign up for a one-on-one reading, Reiki journey session. If you feel guided to go deeper and support yourself in that way, I would be more than happy to support you. And as I said, these two community events, and every new moon, I host these Reiki shares to really facilitate community and spaces where we can support each other, to bring in the higher frequency of all of this astrology and really like do the light work together. And remember that we're not alone in this journey. We're not alone in this process. And that we are all waking up together, and our own personal awakening journeys really, really matter. And each of our unique soul purposes really, really matter. Our life purposes really, really matter. And they shapeshift and they evolve as we shapeshift and evolve. This is so much of what Saturn and Neptune conjunction is about too, is our shapeshifting, our continuous evolutionary process, as we really walk new pathways of these new beginnings, of these infinite possibilities, of our vast interconnectedness and our ancient wisdom rising to the surface. How very connected and not separate we are from each other, from the earth, from the animals, from the plants, from the planets and the stars, and how much possibility we have as human beings to reach for the stars and at the same time be grounded into the heart of the earth and come into even deeper experience of harmony and communion with this beautiful planet Earth, who is, of course, a magical galactic planetary consciousness herself. So I wish you a very happy, abundant, and blessed Gemini new moon. I hope to see you soon. Aho, amen, namaste, and so it is. It is true. Mahalo.